Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Revenge of the Cybermen, written by Gary Davis and directed by Michael E. Bryant. This is a four-part adventure, and it's the last four-part adventure as a season finale for a long time. I believe the next one is Logopolis in Tom Baker's last season. So, yeah. And this story basically ends Tom Baker's first season, although the next story was actually supposed to be the final story. However, they pushed that back into the start of the next season. So, yeah. The story has a bit of a reputation for not being so good, and though I will admit, I do enjoy bits of it. I do get a lot of entertainment from this. It has nothing really to say. It's very popcorny entertainment, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so let's get in. So the Doctor, Sarah and Harry, they land back on the Nerva Beaker. However, they've arrived way too early, many years before Earth was destroyed by solar rays, and they're basically using it as a orbit around Pluto, and there's a few people working there trying to keep a virus under control. They've basically, Destination Nerva has been in lockdown. Really ironic that I'm watching this during lockdown. But yeah, this story sees a handful of characters survive this plague, and one of them is clearly up to something shifty. He destroys tape with something to do with Doctor. He tries to accuse Doctor that they are spreading the virus, and yeah, and clearly something's going on. And the Doctor, he kind of gets the feeling he's seen this all before. He's got this idea in his head, and he slowly realizes that the virus isn't a virus; it's a poison. These people have been poisoned. Now, this storyline might even sound familiar to a lot of people because the Cybermen have done this plot in the Moon Base. Now, I really love the Moon Base. This story is basically a remake of the Moon Base, if you will. There's a lot more going on than just the poison aspect. That only happens for like the first episode, as Sarah quickly gets poisoned, and he takes Harry. First they find an asteroid. It's like an asteroid / planet called Volga, and this is when the Doctor realizes the Cybermen are involved, because he remembers that during the Cyber Wars, in an adventure that we haven't seen, the Volga was a big part in the destruction of the Cybermen during the Cyber Wars. And that a big part of it was that Volga has a huge amount of gold, which seemed to be the Cybermen's weakness. I believe this is the first story to name drop gold as their weakness. I could be wrong, off by memory. I can't remember a single one. I forgot to mention as well, this is the only time that there was a Cyberman story during the 1970s. So this was a massive return, and it really helps distinguish seeing the fourth Doctor, played by Tom Baker, as a Doctor, as he's fighting an iconic villain that hasn't been seen since the second Doctor era in the Invasion, and they won't be appearing again until Earthshock, way out in 1981. Was it 1982? Doesn't matter at this point in time. So yeah, so this doctor starts working out that it's the Cybermen's doing. I like how this story builds up a bit of the Cyberman mythos. We get, I think it's though we heard about a war with the Cybermen in the past, this is the first time I believe they've actually called it the Cyber Wars, a big intergalactic event in which Cybermen and were basically trying to fight everybody in the universe, and they lost. But they're still scattered. There's still a handful of them trying to take over the galaxy. So yeah, the story has like a lot of Cyberman mythology in it. So that's really cool. However, there's a big issue here. The Cybermen themselves, they use the same costumes as in the Invasion, which look really cool. Not so much in colour because they were silver designs anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. Here we get introduced to a cyber leader, a Cyberman with black heads, ear things, and he's kind of, it's in the name, cyber leader. He leads the Cybermen. I can't remember who plays him here, but he'll be better known to be played by David Banks during the 80s. So that's really cool. David Tennant. No, what the hell am I on about David Tennant? Duh. Hello, that's me. I know nothing about Doctor Who. Sorry. I had a brain freeze moment there. The problem is the Cybermen here are really generic and really boring, especially in the way they're written. It's not mentioned that they are converted people. They're just generic henchmen kind of monsters in this story. And the Doctor's kind of... This story might bring up a great point. A lot of Fourth Doctor stories, especially in his later tenure, will suffer from this. And I think this is the first time where, in my opinion, the story suffers from this particular problem, in which the Doctor takes the villain way too lightly, cracking jokes, being calm in the situation, a bit too much, to the point where we as an audience don't feel threatened. We can see it in the Doctor's face. He's too much comforting in this story. So yeah, and you never get the feeling that the Doctor, apart from one great scene in which him and two of the people of Nerva got bombs around their chests, and they walk out. It's just something not clicking with this story. Like with Genesis of the Cybermen, though, along with Genesis of the Daleks, this story, though it has the main villain in the name, the storyline seems to be more of a B-plot compared to the main story, where with Genesis of the Daleks, it was the scientists and the battle of the morals of the creation of the Daleks with Davros, and Davros being basically the main villain. Here, it's mainly about a ploy between the Vogons are from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Vogarians, the people who live on Vogar. The story mainly revolves around them, the virus and their gold, and these two factions of Vogarbians fighting each other. One of them thinks that they should basically go out in a blaze of glory, and another one is basically like, no, we should take our time, settle, and yeah. And I think this is probably one of the weakest parts of this story. With Genesis of the Daleks, though there is a B plot and the A plot that doesn't actually revolve around the main villain, it's still in your mind, in that story, where you're constantly in your mind Daleks and the threat of them. But here, when you are with the Vogarians, whatever you want to call them, on Voga, the Voga people, and with the Earth and stuff, Cybermen kind of seem like a backdrop. It felt like, I could be wrong, but it could feel like easily that the Cybermen weren't originally written to be in this story, and then they were like a last minute addition. That's how it feels like. And if that's the case, it comes off very clearly. I'm not going to state that that is the case. I know that there was another version of the script that didn't air before they made Revenge of the Cybermen. And what was really cool about this planned script is that Big Finish actually announced earlier this year that they're going to make an audio drama of the original script and release it as part of their Lost Story range. So that's really cool. And sadly, I wasn't being able to get that story because it's not released yet as I'm making this, so I won't be talking about that story in this marathon. But yeah, so there's not really much to say about Revenge of the Cybermen. It's a bit bland, it's a bit tasteless, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great action movements, there's great action scenes, there's some great comedy as well. One of my favourite scenes is when they're in the caves in Voga, and Harry's trying to get through the other end, and not knowing that the Doctor and all that are on the other end, and all the boulders come crashing down, and he sees the Doctor unconscious, and he sees him with the belt, and so he tries to take the belt off, not knowing it's going to explode, which leads into a cliffhanger. Really good cliffhanger, if I might add, as well. For a really mediocre story, there are some pretty good cliffhangers here. And then later on in the following episode, the Doctor wakes up and stops him, and this other guy basically tells him, like, don't open it, it'll explode. And then we get a scene which I am convinced that wasn't in the script, that Tom Baker just stopped acting like it was a blooper, because his laugh seems really genuine, and he even looks to the side of the camera, not looking into the camera, but to the side of it as if someone's there. I can't remember if there was a person in the scene, but I don't think the eye lines matched up in anything. And then he shouts out one of the most greatest quotes of the Fourth Doctor era. Harry Sullivan is an imbecile! I don't know why it's so memorable, but it just cracks me up every time I see it. I don't know how to describe it. It's one of the most iconic moments. Just a strange offbeat moment where he just shoutly, probably giving his location away, just so he can insult one of his companions. No wonder Harry Sullivan had a very small companion span. I like to imagine that after this scene, between this and the next story, there's just loads of stories where the Doctor's basically just being an asshole to Harry. So yeah, that's some great humour moments like that. But overall, it's nothing really to note about. It's easily the weakest Cyberman story in the classic era of the series, which is really a shame, because the Fourth Doctor, he is my favourite Doctor, or at least he is one of my favourites. He's the Doctor I grew up with the most. And the Cybermen are my favourite Doctor Who monster. I love their concept, their multiple designs, and just the atmosphere they bring. But sadly, the pairing of these two, at least on TV, didn't work so well. Luckily, I have an audio drama of a Cyberman story with the Fourth Doctor, so hopefully that will be better. So yeah, that's Revenge of the Cybermen. Overall, pretty bland, pretty generic, but it's 4 parts long. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's schlock. That's the best way to put it. It's just a lot of fun, but nothing more. So that's Revenge of the Cybermen. So join me next time where we have shape-shifting aliens, the Loch Ness Monster, and we get the return of the Brigadier and the unit cast. So join me next time for Terror of the Zygons. And we will also be going into my favourite Doctor Who season. So see you then on the Doctor Who Marathon. See you later.